Hello. You're welcome. Oh, you know, building Vorons. Actually, taking one apart right now. Those were the pieces I put together for the little tutorial video I made on how to put the Z module and upper Z idler together. And as my frame down there already has them, these are actually just spare parts I printed. I was trying out some ASA, a new spooled ASA, so the parts are garbage, frankly, because I'm not happy with the plastic. So I literally just printed the parts for the instructional video, put them together, and now I'm taking them apart. And then I'm going to move on to the gantry. Got it over there. Okay. So, yeah, I normally just sit at my computer, so I really don't care about the wires, but now that I'm looking for something wireless at least. Now let's see here. See if I can get all fancy. Oh yeah. Okay. I know, we have production values now. I only had to steal the computer out of our living room, hack the BIOS so it'll run a Xeon, and slap an old, well, my old 1060 in it, so I have something that can encode and not die, and run, you know, Fusion at the same time. Is that what I need? No. Please tell me I printed these parts. I should have printed these parts. Or did I grab the wrong box? Yeah. There we go. Joys of dead life. All these depreciated in the garbage. Yeah, right now I'm using the reason I stole my wife's our living room computer. I'm running with the 1060. It has a built-in NVENC encoder. So basically, all the encoding is run off the GPU instead of the CPU. And it really is minimal impact on the GPU itself. So that's how a 12-year-old processor is handling just fine. Okay. So, pro tip, so your carriage doesn't go flying off the end if you don't have the little red nubbins in anymore, and you don't have any parts on the end to hold it. Zip tie. we go. So we are going to be doing the front idlers first. That already broke. Okay, so if you're ever confused about which idler goes on which side, if you're looking from the front, on the top you have two M5 screw holes on top. On the bottom it's an M5 and an M3. So that way you don't accidentally install this one over here. If you're looking at it from the top, you should have M5s. So the side with the rail should have an M3 and an M5. M3, M5 rail. And then if you look at the part, see how it tapers in? The taper goes towards the back. So that's how you know which one of these, which way goes where. And then also, there is a heat set in there. So actually I'm going to put those in right now. It's not really, it's pulling forward. I know it's on a seam, however, it's actually on the thickest part of two parts. Looking at mine, they've been tensioned pretty tight for 2 months now. There's no discernible issue. So the load is spread pretty evenly. In testing, we haven't noticed any issues. And then plus there is, if you look, there is a washer too. So it is spread out quite a bit. So while all the force is on a seam, it is, you know, solid plastic there pretty much, right? You have 4 layers, outer walls, etc. So it is on a solid part. Yeah, Zen. Actually, if I remember correctly, when I was putting together the first time, I didn't have the CAD in front of me, and there is a way of putting together incorrectly. It is one of those pieces. So now that the CAD is out, go download it, and you can double check to make sure you have everything installed correctly. Okay. Yeah, it's a 40 millimeter long screw if I remember correctly. Pull it up here. Yeah, it's a 40 millimeter long screw. In Fusion, if you ever need to confirm the length of something, inspect, click on the back surface of the screw head. In this case, I clicked the washer, that's why it's not exactly 40 millimeters, and then click on the back of the screw, because all the screws are in the Fusion file. So this way it'll tell you how long your screw is. This one. Okay. And then also, for the tensioning part, which is an accent piece, on the top you have the socket head on the top, and the screw or the nut goes on the bottom. Okay. Well, we've actually, compared to 2.2 and 2.1, we've actually tried to eliminate as many different variables of screw type. In reality, there's really only M3 and M5, and then there's a few button head and a few socket head M5s. So there's only really three, well, and the odd M2 self-tapping for micro switch. But there's really, we tried to standardizing as much as possible and eliminate all the, M6, M8, or M10, with all the different lengths, and try to standardize down as much as possible. Again, one of the big goals of 2.4 was simplifying the BOM, the bill of materials. Hi Dario, it is 8:30 p.m. here. There we go. So this is how the printed parts go together. Now this part is somewhat fun because you have to build a stack of washers and bearings inside something. So there's a few different ways of going about this. Let me just pull it up here just to make sure. Okay, so the stack we're going to make is, it's going to be the 40mm long M5 button head, and then it's going to be washer, one of our 1mm washers, two F695s, and another washer. Anytime you have a bearing stack like this, there is no washer that goes in the middle. Okay, don't do that. Some people do. You don't need a washer in there. I run 1.8s everywhere. There are a few people that are starting to get on the, I think Moons and LDO make a really good 0.9, but so far I haven't had any issues running the 1.8s. So, because I have 1,000,000 dowels, because I've built 1,000,000 Vorons, I kind of do this a cheating way, and I found this works really good. So I take a 30mm long M5 dowel, I put it in, and then I build up my stack. So I have a washer, bearing, bearing, washer. I close it up. Put the tensioning arm on. And then I push it out with the screw, and it's all in place. So I'll do that again on the other camera so you can see. So instead of trying to line everything, yeah, see, it's already gone. You'll never line it up. So what I do is I have a spare 30mm long 5mm pin. You put your washer, bearing, your bearing, flanges out, your washer, put it on one side, put it in the other side. Okay. Just keep a finger on it so it doesn't go flying. Take your tensioning arm, or whatever that piece is called, put it over top, and then take your 40mm screw, push out your rod, and boom, it's assembled. If you try to build up the stack and then try and feed it through, there's a few different tricks people have come up with so far. That's the one I like to use. I'm running really low on M5 nuts actually. I might have to use, now you don't need to use lock nuts anywhere on 2.4. Lock nuts are no longer spec. If you are worried about something walking out, just put a little dab of thread locker or nail polish or whatever. But as of now, there are no spec lock nuts anymore. But I think I don't have enough normal M5 nuts, so I might be using lock nuts. We shall see. There we go. One idler assembled. So you can assemble these beforehand and then slide them on to the extrusion. We get the other one assembled. Now sometimes, because these parts do index into each other, if you have a small little overhang or something, they might not index perfectly. So you might just have to go in there with a file or something and just give it a quick deburr, just to make sure you're good. You don't want to force plastic together. When you force plastic together, you put tension on it. It can cause stress fractures, which can cause more fracturing down the line. Oop. Okay, do this again. Wrong size screw. Okay, so I'm going to put this on. So again, looking from the front, once you got them assembled, the socket head is up. And M5 screw holes are up, M5 and M3 are on the bottom. So, reinstall these. course I put it on backwards. What did I do? Yeah, that one goes there. That one goes there. It goes like that. Yeah, there we go. So what I'm doing right now is you can't screw it together because you have to have you gotta have the Z carrier block here for the rail. That's got to be installed on the bottom, and then you have to also have the belt holder on the top. Now both these red parts hold a belt in between, so because I'm just building the gantry on the table here, I'm not going to install them now. I'm just going to leave everything friction fit together. Okay. Black is the primary. You can go with any primary color and secondary. We just advise against white ABS because ABS, to be dyed white, they have to add a lot of color to it. It's an additive. It's not really a dye. It's an additive they add to the ABS pellets to force it to be a different color. So you're mixing your ABS with a colorant to make the color. So because you have to add so much to make it white, it makes it more brittle, and we find the layer adhesion isn't good and it cracks. Now I'm not saying it's horrible, it's just out of all the colors of ABS, white tends to be the weakest, and we've seen some parts fail in white, so we don't recommend going with white. People have done yellow, pink, you name it, it's just white itself is kind of weak. No, these aren't carbon fiber, these are just, the black is, actually both are eSun ABS Plus, black and blue. Other one. Yeah, if you go with like a raw or pure ABS, that's fine. That's not dyed. That's just its natural color. So the reason to go with eSun ABS Plus is it's more forgiving than normal ABS. It's not pure ABS, it's ABS mixed with something else, I don't know exactly what it is. Some people say it's percentage PLA, whatever. I've always used it for all my Vorons. I buy it in bulk when I can, get it up here in Canada. But it's basically just more forgiving ABS, so it doesn't warp easily compared to normal ABS. You can print it without being enclosed, although I print it enclosed. I just find it's very reliable. Like I've never had an issue with it. I can feed it into my machine, hit cycle start, and basically walk away, and I know the print will finish fine. I won't have it warping off the bed or anything like that. But for example, like the parts I printed for the video where I was testing or where I assembled the Z module just for the instructional. These are printed in ASA, and it's just regular ASA. I've been fiddling around with it because I got a few spools of it, and I'm not quite as happy with it as I am with eSun ABS Plus, because I've been fighting warping issues. But it's kind of a shitty ASA, I think. For cleaning out the rails, these are CNA. Let's see here. So this is the one I haven't put on yet. This is my second X-rail. I took it out of the bag and threw oil on it. Like, it came pretty clean, actually. I forgot to grease these ones up. But yeah, this is pretty much how it came out of the bag. It's clean. There's a light coating of oil. There's no grit in it. I don't take them apart anymore. I just flush them with methanol or ethanol or ISO, whatever I can get my hands on. Clean them out and then lube them up, throw them on. I've printed polycarbonate in there. I haven't had any issues with ambient air temperatures. The bed itself will get the air up to about that high off the bed, a good 50 Celsius, and then the whole chamber gets 40 plus easily. So I've never had issues needing a heated chamber. If you're heating a chamber, you're pushing temps that are probably not what you should be pushing on a Voron. If you're trying to print Peak or Ultim on a Voron, this is not the machine to do it. I have printed nylon. I wish I had the piece with me, but Buddy gave me a sample piece of nylon from, I don't know, wherever he got a bunch of samples, and one of them was nylon. It prints fine. I only had like a small piece. I only printed like a gear, and it came out shit because I had 50 grams to play with and I couldn't tune anything. But yeah, it prints fine. Okay, so now we are going to do the AB idlers, or AB motor mounts. So these are actually really simple. So I need to get one of those stream decks so I can swap between cameras easily. So compared to the 2.1 and 2.2, these are absolutely shit simple. They're two plastic pieces, and there's your belt path. Simple. Okay, so size M5s do I need? 30 mil. It's not too hard, honestly. Just I have never. I'm sure there's tons of YouTube videos, but I've like smashed my way through learning Fusion 360 through trial and error. For design wise, take something and modify it. That's what I use to teach myself. So we are going to build up the bearing stack. So for bearing stacks on V2, fancy 1mm. There we are. basically, anytime you have a double stack of washers or bearings, you're going to have a washer on each side every time. So this one right here, we're going to have washer, bearing, bearing, washer. This one right here, we're going to have 2 stacks, so washer, bearing, bearing, washer, and then another stack, so washer, bearing, bearing, washer, like so. And that will ensure everything is spaced out properly. Now, for screwing these together, they screw into plastic. Oh, I lost. Because these are pretty much we're using M5s instead of pins like we used previously. So, you're screwing them into plastic, but you're not tightening them. So you're just going to screw them down, and then as soon as the screw bottom's out, you stop. You're not torquing these. That's it. That's all you got to do. Yeah, a lot of people use Fusion 360 because it's robust and it's free. All you got to do is tell them you're a hobbyist and you don't make more than 100 grand a year off of it or whatever it is, and you get a license. So, put your 20-tooth on. You're going to want the fat side up. And then I think it's the 30 or 40. Mil. And then 3 M330s, screw them down. These ones you tighten. Then you go in and you adjust your .22 gear so that it lines up with the belt path, or it will line up with the belt path once the belts are in. And then of course you're going to be putting thread locker on this. I still have some still on it, so don't need to reapply, but of course you're going to be putting on your thread locker, whatever you put on. Make sure these set screws don't come out, and boom, done. That's how you do the 2.4 A or B motor mount. Simple. And the only difference between the two is the location of where your belt path goes through. But they're basically identical. And then this one here also has this little guy right here. That's where your Z belt attaches to. But this is the only difference between the A and B motor mount. Bearings in lieu of tooth idlers. I have been running bearings in lieu of tooth idlers on v2.4 here since it was built, and I have noticed zero issues. The belts aren't being worn down. I don't see any tooth marks in my prints, and if they are there, they're so small I really don't care. Yeah, I haven't noticed any issues. Shit. Like, people always claim that you can see tooth marks, and we've done some internal testing with and without them, and it's such a small thing. I don't even know if it really is a thing, or if it's some other issue that everyone just assumes is teeth marks. Because if you look at, if you go to the 3D Printing's Discord and look in their the E3D section, people are posting pictures of some pretty nasty ripples they're getting off Chimeras on decently well-built printers. So it's obviously not a belt issue, and those they don't look too good. So there are many other things that can cause ripples in your print. Thread lock, that'll do you. You just literally need to wet the threads. You don't need to glob it on or anything. Yeah, Jake, I could make a whole video on E3D. But basically, in my opinion, they're getting their butts kicked by. If you're getting your butt kicked by Chinese Hotends, you got problems. They haven't come out with anything that I would consider revolutionary or groundbreaking or wanting of my money since like the original V6. And I bought one, and I wasted my money. It wasn't worth it. At least for what a V6 costs up here in Canada. like their stuff isn't bad. It's just for the price, it's not worth it. Like I think up here it was near $100 for a V6 for like the whole thing with the heaters and everything. And then a Triangle Lab V6 clone is $15 shipped. Yeah, it takes a little bit longer, but put them side by side, I can't tell the difference. The super volcano is a problem. You have a however million watt Hotend heater, and the only thing holding that in place is your titanium heat break, which is thin because their heat break is structural. Until they resolve that problem, I will never use anything other than a stock V6. I don't trust it. The super volcano is literally, it's like a thoroughbred racehorse. Yeah, it goes fast, but if it falls over, it's dead. So you have all this weight, and all you have is your pinly little titanium heat break. If you bump it, it's bent. Yeah. And then if you break it, it's titanium, so it's going to shear, and then your million watt heater is just going to go bleh onto your print surface. So yeah, not a fan of the super volcano. Like if I wanted power, I have access to, I think they're like 3,000 watt, 240 volt heaters at work. I could bring one of those home, you know, strap it to my V6 and see how that goes. But I'm not going to because that's dumb. But just because you can doesn't mean you should. So right now I'm just putting on the motor mount. And getting everything lined up. Again, just friction fit because I can't really screw it together right now. And it's the same thing where you have an M3 and an M5 on the bottom. Just getting everything lined up. Yeah, their tool changer, slow and over-engineered. And I still have yet to see any way of doing multi-material that I like. Basically everything I've seen so far just kind of seems either slow with issue, I don't know. Plus it's expensive. And for what? So you can print Reddit Karma prints? So, for now, I'm just going to throw one screw in each so they don't go flying apart on me. So this is just a temporary screw to hold them together, just temporarily. Correct. The pallet, I think you can only go up to 100 millimeters a second. Any faster and you outrun the buffer. So it literally can't splice the plastic together fast enough. So if you want to go slow, it's fine. And if you talk to Doc, he's been running one on his Voron without issue. The Voron can do a pallet, no problem. It's just you have to go slow, which is kind of hard on a Voron. Let's do a gantry. So there we go. The price of the Duet, it's pricey, it's good. This guy is running rep firmware on a Fouet, so a Chinese Duet, and a ramps expander that's hodgepodge to it. Good old v2.0 solutions. They're very good, but they're compared to Clipper and SKRs, you're not getting anything performance-wise better. So there's no point in buying one. If you already have one, by all means use it, but I wouldn't go out and buy one new. And if you can get one for a good, used price, go ahead. It's one of those things, if you have it in your hands, go for it. If not, and yeah, in case you're wondering, there's like a good 20-second delay between what I see and say and then you hear me. Okay. So we're going to take bearing stacks, all the bearing stacks, and I definitely do not have enough M5 screws, so I'm going to run out, or M5 nuts. So I'm going to run out here. So make a bearing stack on a 40mm M5 button head. Voila, done. Nut in the bottom. Yeah. How do I could have sworn I had a lot more. Knowing my luck, I have a whole bag of them somewhere, and I don't know where I put them. So I'm using lock nuts here. You do not need to use lock nuts. Just use regular nuts. Because legacy. 32 only got cheaper recently, and it's kind of old habits die hard, and probably has a thing to do with how many they've already had made. So if you know, if you're Creality and you're ordering 100,000 boards, you're not going to throw them out. You're going to use them all. Okay, and then in here, let me see if I can get the colors better on this guy. The joys of using old webcams. Yeah, that's about as good as it's gonna get. Okay, so anyways, in here we have a another stack. So .40mm washer, bearing, washer. And then this one screws into plastic. So again, just tighten it just enough to bottom out and don't reef on it. You do not want to strip the plastic or you are going to be reprinting it. Now we have 2 more 40mm. Go through and then bolt it on back. Is there a huge, I don't know if there's a huge latency difference between Twitch and YouTube. I've only ever done YouTube because I already have a YouTube account. I don't have a Twitch account. There we go. So that is the, looking from the front, the left one assembled. So this one we can actually put on. And you can see there is a little tab there for the rail to index into it. Can you print the washers into the plastic parts? There are some areas that do have what look like printed washers, but it is better to use a metal one in those situations. You could, but you're going to be using them in other places, so you might as well just use them everywhere. It just makes it simpler. At least in my opinion. on the bottom here. We have a, why is that so slow? That 30 millimeter M530. I don't know why that's so slow. Anyways. Okay, we're good. I'm in Southern Ontario. Nicolette, or what is that? Michael Cott. Yeah, Southern Ontario. So that's why you're not hearing the South Park Canadian accent. Okay, now for the other side, it's pretty much the same, just some minor differences because it's obviously mirrored and the belt is a little bit different. No, that is a 30 mil. Is that a 30 mil? What is that one? I might not have the screw on hand. Shit. It's bad. That says 40 mil. So this one, front one's 40. Just worried about it cracking. I not have the newest revision of this part? I probably do not have the newest revision of this part. This part has been changed. Great. Joy. Cred. Yep, I have the old revision of this part. So, I will have to fix this later. But for now, I can stay like that. Keep that in line. I'm going to just throw a bunch of spacers on the top and come back to it later and fix it. Yeah. Dev life. Joys of having old revisions mixed in with new revisions. Yep, I cracked that part too, so I'm going to have to actually rip it apart, redo it later. Oh well. I gotta use my fancy washers. I'm low on the fancy washers. Okay, so for now, this super ghetto setup is what I'm going to do. And we got the 40 mil. Bearing stack. How much have I thrown away? Probably 5-6 kilograms easily in the past 2 years. Um, 4 bolts for the bed. Let me bring the bed up. Lower valence, I think. Oh. There you go, frame. So it does show 4, however, one of them you will leave loose. So you're only going to have 3 screwed in tight. Because you need to allow some point for thermal expansion. So you're really only going to screw in 3 and leave the 4th loose. That's what I do. And I'm just realizing I can't do it on this part. On a previous revision, you could put the rail on with these on. This one you can't. So I gotta take this right back off. How is the wear? Pretty much non-existent. I haven't noticed any issues there in wear. You can put a little bit of like super lube or PTFE lube on it before you put it together, just so it has some friction. But it's a smooth on smooth contact, so it shouldn't exactly be wearing too much. And it's not like it's a constant move, it's ever so slight movement, if any. So yes, this is how I grease up my rails. I just splooge some grease in it and kind of force it in, and that's it. Ever printed palm? No, I have not. How often? I re-grease them when I take the machine apart to upgrade from one revision to another. So I don't exactly take it apart for maintenance, and that's going from like 2.1. My 2.1 had the most hours on it of any of my builds, and that thing had close to 2,000, I think. Easily 2,000 printing hours. 70 hours for PIF kit, and that thing did 20 of them. Easily, plus whatever else I was printing. So, yeah. And when I took it apart, the rails were still fine. We got 1, 2, 3. 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. I think it's M36 if I remember for rails, yep. sworn I had a guide somewhere. Oh well. You don't need the printable guides for your second rail, because when you put the carriage on, you use that to basically you have one squared on and then the other one is squared on when you run the carriage around. Yeah. Actually, they're 8. I'm 3, 8. Yeah. What alignment mod? If you're talking about the twist is in the extrusion itself being bent. I'm running low on some types of these screws. I'm going to have to buy some more. Fortunately, with Rona, I don't have access to my Fastenal guy right now. Okay. So that is all the screws in. They're all loose. There we go. Now I can put the broken one on. Oh, it's gonna suck. I'm gonna have to reprint one of these. What, like using the dial gauge? And if your x-axis is twisted, using a dial gauge will just tell you it's twisted. You won't fix it. And the thing is, you're going off of your bed and hoping your bed is perfectly flat, which you can't. You hope it's perfectly flat, but you can't assume it's perfectly flat. So unless you have, a granite layout table or a granite slab you can put in your printer. Okay. So there's the X-beam assembled. Again, right now only the bottom rail is straight, the top one's a little wobbly. So we're good there. This part's got to get redone because there's a crack in it, which is annoying as shit. Yeah. Without, I don't know what the issue was, so without like seeing it in front of me, I'm not really sure what you're going on about. Sorry. Well, basically, you have one rail that's attached to your extrusion using the guides, screwed on tight, and then you let the other one float until you put your tool head on, basically. And then as you move it, you tighten the screws so that it doesn't bind anywhere. So that's why this one's loose. And actually, I think it's supposed to be this one's tight and this one's supposed to be loose. But we'll come to that. Yeah, I'll have to print some guides. Or I can just rotate these. I'm gonna just rotate them, because I know that one rail's good. Yep. That's why you have a Lixie. It's a great hammer. These ones gotta go in first. Yeah, it's a percussive assistance device. So that is pretty much it for building the gantry itself. I really can't go too far tonight because unfortunately my rear crossbar, I still got to cut it. I forgot to do that. So the original one I had on here when it was a 2.2, I ripped it off and cut it down to use on that guy because it would be too short to be for 2.4 on this one. And all I have is cheap China extrusion left over. Unfortunately, I just can't order Misumi up here. If I order Misumi, it's not too bad. We pretty much just pay price plus exchange rate. Problem is there's like a minimum shipping charge of 30 bucks and I'm not paying like $40 plus exchange rate for one extrusion. So I'm going to have to chop down that Chinese one there, which the rear extrusion doesn't matter. It's just going to be silver. And then for the Hotend itself, that's going to be probably its own video for the most part, building that thing up and then installing the gantry and running the wires. So I'll probably do that on another night. It's a long weekend. I don't want to be on the stream too long. But, oh, hello, Kyle. Thank you very much. I do appreciate that. Any amount that is donated pretty much just gets rolled right back into Voron. I'm still waiting on the mic I recently purchased. I'm supposed to have a proper mic coming in, so you don't get to listen to C920 crappy audio with reverb. You hear my computer whirring away in the background. But yeah, and I do appreciate, and you don't need to donate, but anything that is donated pretty much just gets rolled right back into supporting the stream, supporting Voron, and the dev fund, basically. So, thank you, Kyle. But I will leave it open for the next like 10 minutes while I clean up. If anyone has any questions about anything, go ahead. And yeah, another reason I'm ending, I don't want to go too far because I have to rip this apart and reprint that part, which is going to suck. Do a filament swap. I am reusing silicone wire. With shipping up here is absolutely atrocious. I'm waiting on packages that were ordered a month and a half ago for some things. And that stuff in Canada. Stuff that's UPS is sitting in warehouses right now, for example. Like it's horrible right now getting stuff up here. So I already had a full loom made up somewhere. I gotta find it, but I had it somewhere. That's actually a good question. Where did I put it? Anyways, I had a whole loom made up for this guy, and I'm just going to reuse it because it's already made. Where did I put that, actually? It's going to bug me. Probably in a box. But yes, I have a whole loom made up of silicone, and I'm going to reuse it. PTFE, though, if you are buying new, go with PTFE. This guy's still on silicone. It's still the same loom that I used for 2.2, and I'm just reusing. It hasn't failed yet, so I'm just going to use it until it fails, and then I'll swap it out. 2 amp steppers for Z, 1.8 amp. So for the Z steppers, the reason they are spec so beefy is back in ye olde days of v2.0, we did not have 5:1 gearing, we had 2:1 gearing, so you needed beefy steppers to hold up your gantry, otherwise it would come crashing down. In v2.0 days, it would still drop a couple mil compared to a couple steps now. So you can get by with the 1.8s. We just recommend same all around, basically. Why does the Ender 3 became so popular? It became popular because it's cheap and it works good enough. It's, you know, on a sale you can get an Ender 3 for you know, cheaper than a Mosquito Hotend. Like, you can get a whole printer. It's cheap. They market it well. It's simple to set up. There's really nothing majorly wrong with it. But if you compare it to like a Prusa or whatever, yeah, Prusa will dance all around it, but most people don't want to spend that much money on, especially just trying out a hobby. You know, you don't recommend somebody who has an interest in, you know, oh, hey, I like playing video games. I kind of want to play Fortnite. Okay, go buy 2080 Ti. You know, you recommend something that'll get their feet wet, see if they even enjoy it before they go further. Hey, Railcore. Good to see ya. Thanks, Snow. Recommend for print surface PEI. Yes, PEI. I use flex sheets. So on mine, it's the Energetic China Special, but it's just a good old sheet of PEI glued to a sheet of aluminum. I have tried back in the day on my V1. I ran with this guy, which was the Ultra Base. See the outline of the very last print I did on it. The Ultra Base works, but it's glass, so inductive probes don't work. But yeah, PI is the way to go. If you can do PI, go PI. Silicone wire was a standard. We've just switched to, it's the same wire, but it's basically PTFE coating instead of silicone. It just it doesn't wear in chains in the long term. We're just worried about potential with it now being in a drag chain. Once you get to a few thousand hours, potentially being a wear issue. So PTFE is much, the coating's thinner, so you have more wires, or they're not squished in the chain as much as silicone basically. So it's less of a wire or a long-term issue. Yeah, on an Ender 3, like the basic mechanics of it are pretty, you know, it's a 3D printer. You have XYZ movement and you splooge melted plastic out. It isn't rocket appliances. So a few upgrades to an Ender 3 and it'll print fine. It's just, you know, it's the cheapest form of motion. It's, you know, rails on wheels on extrusions. That ain't exactly, you know, precision engineering. These come bent. You can get bent extrusions. It's quite a common thing, especially with China. And you just have a wheel running in a track out of extruded aluminum. Extruded aluminum is not a precision thing. Yes, the PEI on the Energetic is quite thin. If you do have a nozzle strike, you probably will damage it. But you can always just peel off the PEI on the flex plate and replace it. I have to do that on the bed for this guy, so I probably will. I don't know if I'll stream it, but I'll make a video of installing a flex plate on aluminum Mic 6 plate. For the PTFE not to twist in the chain, I haven't run the PTFE yet. I just have silicone wire just jammed in there. And so far I haven't had any major issues. Sorry, I'm doing a filament change. Yeah. So I am running the magnetic sheet. I've pushed the bed up to 110 for hours. I haven't noticed a single loss of the plate coming off. Like, I know some people are worried with the magnetic flex plates, especially like the glue-on magnetic sheet of it losing its magnetism at certain temps, but I've been printing ABS for 2 months on it. Nothing. Works fine. For the maximum temperature, you can't really go 115, 120. I wouldn't push any higher because at that temperature, the glue that holds down the magnet, and even your silicone heating mat fails at about 120. Well, it doesn't fail, it gets weak, and then you risk the heating mat or your PI lifting. Finish off that spool. There we go. I wouldn't wrapping it in Tessa tape and then stuffing it in a drag chain, John. That is, I wouldn't do that. I don't think that would work. We had issues with Tessa tape wrapped tape measure in the tape chain. It caused friction. PTFE ribbon cable. I know if you look in the sourcing guide, I believe there is links now for the PTFE. I don't know if it's ribbon or a single strand. Also, another downside with the PTFE, it pretty much only comes in one color, black. So the nice thing with silicone, you have a million colors, and you can, write on a sheet, pink is your thermistor, orange is your this and that. This is all black, so you have to label each individual wire, otherwise you're going to be busting out the multimeter. Axon, what brand was it? Because Energetic seems to be, for the most part, pretty good. Okay, we're good. Yeah, everyone. Yeah. Actually, I think that is the one I have because I bought it a while ago off Amazon Canada because it was the only thing I could get at the time. And with shipping right now, I might be rolling the dice with it. We'll see. I can't remember. I think I bought it because it was on sale. It was like 20 bucks up here, which was ridiculous. Okay. Yeah, the might not have been updated yet. Might be something they're trying to find, like a global source. We do try to find, for the sourcing guide specifically, whenever there's like an item, we try to find something that's available worldwide. Because I know in the US a lot of people are going with, I think it's Remington is the brand name. Okay, so I think I'm going to call it there. I don't know if I'll stream between now and next Saturday. If I do, it'll pop up. But I am going to try and make the Saturday night stream kind of a semi-regular thing, at least until I get V2 online here. So yeah, I thank you all for giving me company while I work around in my basement. If you do have any questions, ask them in the comments below. This video will stay up, although it takes YouTube like a day before it actually finally gets posted. But if you have the link, you can keep watching it. Or hit me up in the Discord. So, have a good night.